The Dao De Jing by Lao Tzu, Book 1, Chapter 1. The way that can be spoken of is not the constant way. The name that can be named is not the constant name. The nameless was the beginning of heaven and earth. The named was the mother of the myriad creatures. Hence always rid yourself of desires in order to observe its secrets, but always allow yourself to have desires in order to observe its manifestations. These two are the same, but diverge in name as they issue forth. Being the same, they are called mysteries. Mystery upon mystery, the gateway of the manifold secrets. Chapter 2. The whole world recognizes the beautiful as the beautiful, yet this is only the ugly. The whole world recognizes the good as the good, yet this is only the bad. Thus something and nothing produce each other. The difficult and the easy complement each other. The long and the short offset each other. The high and the low incline towards each other. Note and sound harmonize with each other. Before and after follow each other. Therefore the sage keeps to the deed that consists in taking no action, and practices the teaching that uses no words. The myriad creatures rise from it, yet it claims no authority. It gives them life, yet claims no possession. It benefits them, yet exacts no gratitude. It accomplishes its task, yet lays claim to no merit. It is because it lays claim to no merit that its merit never deserts it. Chapter 3. Not to honor men of worth will keep the people from contention. Not to value goods which are hard to come by will keep them from theft. Not to display what is desirable will keep them from being unsettled of mind. Therefore, in governing the people, the sage empties their minds but fills their bellies, weakens their wills but strengthens their bones. He always keeps them innocent of knowledge and free from desire, and ensures that the clever never dare to act. Do that which consists in taking no action, and order will prevail. Chapter 4. The way is empty, yet use will not drain it. Deep, it is like the ancestor of the myriad creatures. Blunt the sharpness, untangle the knots, soften the glare, let your wheels move along only old ruts. Darkly visible, it only seems as if it were there. I know not whose son it is. It images the forefather of God. Chapter 5. Heaven and earth are ruthless, and treat the myriad creatures as straw dogs. The sage is ruthless, and treats the people as straw dogs. Is not the space between heaven and earth like a bellows? It is empty without being exhausted. The more it works, the more comes out. Much speech leads inevitably to silence. Better to hold fast to the void. Chapter 6. The spirit of the valley never dies. This is called the mysterious female. The gateway of the mysterious female is called the root of heaven and earth. Dimly visible, it seems as if it were there, yet use will never drain it. Chapter 7. Heaven and earth are enduring. The reason why heaven and earth can be enduring is that they do not give themselves life. Hence they are able to be long-lived. Therefore the sage puts his person last, and it comes first, treats it as extraneous to himself, and it is preserved. Is it not because he is without thought of self that he is able to accomplish his private ends? Chapter 8. Highest good is like water, because water excels in benefiting the myriad creatures without contending with them, and settles where none would like to be. It comes close to the way. In a home, it is the site that matters. In quality of mind, it is depth that matters. In an ally, it is benevolence that matters. In speech, it is good faith that matters. In government, it is order that matters. In affairs, it is ability that matters. In action, it is timeliness that matters. It is because it does not contend that it is never at fault. Chapter 9. Rather than fill it to the brim by keeping it upright, better to have stopped in time. Hammer it to a point, and the sharpness cannot be preserved forever. There may be gold and jade to fill a hall, but there is none who can keep them. To be overbearing when one has wealth and position is to bring calamity upon oneself. To retire when the task is accomplished is the way of heaven. Chapter 10. When carrying on your head your perplexed bodily soul, can you embrace in your arms the one and not let go? In concentrating your breath, can you become as supple as a babe? Can you polish your mysterious mirror and leave no blemish? Can you love the people and govern the state without resorting to action? When the gates of heaven open and shut, are you capable of keeping to the role of the female? When your discernment penetrates the four quarters, are you capable of not knowing anything? It gives them life and rears them. It gives them life, yet claims no possession. It benefits them, yet exacts no gratitude. It is the steward, yet exercises no authority. Such is called the mysterious virtue. Chapter 11. 30 spokes share one hub. Adapt the nothing therein to the purpose in hand, and you will have the use of the cart. Knead clay in order to make a vessel. Adapt the nothing therein to the purpose in hand, and you will have the use of the vessel. Cut out doors and windows in order to make a room. Adapt the nothing therein to the purpose in hand, and you will have the use of the room. Thus what we gain is something, yet it is by virtue of nothing that this can be put to use. Chapter 12. The 5 colors make man's eyes blind. The 5 notes make his ears deaf. The 5 tastes injure his palate. Riding and hunting make his mind go wild with excitement. Goods hard to come by serve to hinder his progress. Hence the sage is for the belly, not for the eye. Therefore he discards the one and takes the other. Chapter 13. Favor and disgrace are things that startle. High rank is, like one's body, a source of great trouble. What is meant by saying that favor and disgrace are things that startle? Favor, when it is bestowed on a subject, serves to startle as much as when it is withdrawn. This is what is meant by saying that favor and disgrace are things that startle. What is meant by saying that high rank is, like one's body, a source of great trouble? The reason I have great trouble is that I have a body. When I no longer have a body, what trouble have I? Hence he who values his body more than dominion over the empire can be entrusted with the empire. He who loves his body more than dominion over the empire can be given the custody of the empire. Chapter 14. What cannot be seen is called evanescent. What cannot be heard is called rarefied. What cannot be touched is called minute. These three cannot be fathomed, and so they are confused and looked upon as one. Its upper part is not dazzling. Its lower part is not obscure. Dimly visible, it cannot be named, and returns to that which is without substance. This is called the shape that has no shape, the image that is without substance. This is called indistinct and shadowy. Go up to it and you will not see its head. Follow behind it and you will not see its rear. Hold fast to the way of antiquity in order to keep in control the realm of today. The ability to know the beginning of antiquity is called the thread running through the way. Chapter 15. Of old he who was well versed in the way was minutely subtle, mysteriously comprehending, and too profound to be known. It is because he could not be known that he can only be given a makeshift description. Tentative as if fording a river in winter, hesitant as if in fear of his neighbors, formal like a guest, falling apart like thawing ice, thick like the uncarved block, vacant like a valley, murky like muddy water. Who can be muddy and yet settling, slowly become limpid? Who can be at rest and yet stirring, slowly come to life? He who holds fast to this way desires not to be full. It is because he is not full that he can be worn and yet newly made. Chapter 16. I do my utmost to attain emptiness. I hold firmly to stillness. The myriad creatures all rise together and I watch their return. The teeming creatures all return to their separate roots. Returning to one's roots is known as stillness. This is what is meant by returning to one's destiny. Returning to one's destiny is known as the constant. Knowledge of the constant is known as discernment. Woe to him who willfully innovates while ignorant of the constant. But should one act from knowledge of the constant, one's action will lead to impartiality, impartiality to kingliness, kingliness to heaven, heaven to the way to perpetuity, and to the end of one's days, one will meet with no danger. Chapter 17. The best of all rulers is but a shadowy presence to his subjects. Next comes the ruler they love and praise. Next comes one they fear. Next comes one with whom they take liberties. When there is not enough faith, there is lack of good faith. Hesitant, he does not utter words lightly. When his task is accomplished and his work done, the people all say, "It happened to us naturally." Chapter 18. When the great way falls into disuse, there are benevolence and rectitude. When cleverness emerges, there is great hypocrisy. When the six relations are at variance, there are filial children. When the state is benighted, there are loyal ministers. Chapter 19. Exterminate the sage, discard the wise, and the people will benefit 100-fold. Exterminate benevolence, discard rectitude, and the people will again be filial. Exterminate ingenuity, discard profit, and there will be no more thieves and bandits. These three, being false adornments, are not enough, and the people must have something to which they can attach themselves. Exhibit the unadorned and embrace the uncarved block. Have little thought of self and as few desires as possible. In Chapter 20, exterminate learning and there will no longer be worries. Between yea and nay, how much difference is there? Between good and evil, how great is the distance? What others fear, one must also fear, and wax without having reached the limit. The multitude are joyous, as if partaking of the C Lau offering, or going up to a terrace in spring. I alone am inactive and reveal no signs, like a baby that has not yet learned to smile, listless as though with no home to go back to. The multitude all have more than enough. I alone seem to be in want. My mind is that of a fool. How blank! Vulgar people are clear. I alone am drowsy. Vulgar people are alert. I alone am muddled. Calm like the sea, like a high wind that never ceases. The multitude all have a purpose. I alone am foolish and uncouth. I alone am different from others and value being fed by the mother. Chapter 21. In his every movement a man of great virtue follows the way and only the way. As a thing, the way is shadowy, indistinct. Indistinct and shadowy, yet within it is an image. Shadowy and indistinct, yet within it is a substance. Dim and dark, yet within it is an essence. This essence is quite genuine, and within it is something that can be tested. From the present back to antiquity, its name never deserted it. It serves as a means for inspecting the fathers of the multitude. How do I know that the fathers of the multitude are like that? By means of this. Chapter 22. Bowed down, then preserved. Bent, then straight. Hollow, then full. Worn, then new. A little, then benefited. A lot, then perplexed. Therefore the sage embraces the one and is a model for the empire. He does not show himself, and so is conspicuous. He does not consider himself right, and so is illustrious. He does not brag, and so has merit. He does not boast, and so endures. It is because he does not contend that no one in the empire is in a position to contend with him. The way the ancients had it, bowed down, then preserved, is no empty saying. Truly, it enables one to be preserved to the end. Chapter 23. To use words but rarely is to be natural. Hence a gusty wind cannot last all morning, and a sudden downpour cannot last all day. Who is it that produces these? Heaven and earth. If even heaven and earth cannot go on forever, much less can man. That is why one follows the way. A man of the way conforms to the way. A man of virtue conforms to virtue. A man of loss conforms to loss. He who conforms to the way is gladly accepted by the way. He who conforms to virtue is gladly accepted by virtue. He who conforms to loss is gladly accepted by loss. When there is not enough faith, there is lack of good faith. Chapter 24. He who tiptoes cannot stand. He who strides cannot walk. He who shows himself is not conspicuous. He who considers himself right is not illustrious. He who brags will have no merit. He who boasts will not endure. From the point of view of the way, these are excessive food and useless excrescences. As there are things that detest them, he who has a way does not abide in them. Chapter 25. There is a thing confusedly formed, born before heaven and earth. silent and void. It stands alone and does not change, goes round and does not weary. It is capable of being the mother of the world. I know not its name, so I style it the Way. I give it the makeshift name of the Great. Being great, it is further described as receding. Receding, it is described as far away. Being far away, it is described as turning back. Hence the Way is great, heaven is great, earth is great, and the king is also great. Within the realm there are 4 things that are great, and the king counts as one. Man models himself on earth, earth on heaven, heaven on the Way, and the Way on that which is naturally so. Chapter 26. The heavy is the root of the light. The still is the lord of the restless. Therefore the gentleman, when traveling all day, never lets the heavily laden carts out of his sight. It is only when he is safely behind walls and watchtowers that he rests peacefully and is above worries. How then should a ruler of 10,000 chariots make light of his own person in the eyes of the empire? If light, then the root is lost. If restless, then the Lord is lost. Chapter 27. One who excels in traveling leaves no wheel tracks. One who excels in speech makes no slips. One who excels in reckoning uses no counting rods. One who excels in shutting uses no bolts, yet what he has shut cannot be opened. One who excels in tying uses no cords, yet what he has tied cannot be undone. Therefore the sage always excels in saving people, and so abandons no one. Always excels in saving things, and so abandons nothing. This is called following one's discernment. Hence the good man is the teacher the bad learns from, and the bad man is the material the good works on. Not to value the teacher, nor to love the material, though it seems clever, betrays great bewilderment. This is called the essential and the secret. Chapter 28. Know the male, but keep to the role of the female, and be a ravine to the empire. If you are a ravine to the empire, then the constant virtue will not desert you, and you will again return to being a babe. Know the white, but keep to the role of the black, and be a model to the empire. If you are a model to the empire, then the constant virtue will not be wanting, and you will return to the infinite. Know honor, but keep to the role of the disgraced, and be a valley to the empire. If you are a valley to the empire, then the constant virtue will be sufficient, and you will return to being the uncarved block. When the uncarved block shatters, it becomes vessels. The sage makes use of these and becomes the lord over the officials. Hence the greatest governing does not sever. Hence the greatest cutting does not sever. Chapter 29. Whoever takes the empire and wishes to do anything to it, I see will have no respite. The empire is a sacred vessel, and nothing should be done to it. Whoever does anything to it will ruin it. Whoever lays hold of it will lose it. Hence some things lead and some follow. Some breathe gently and some breathe hard. Some are strong and some are weak. Some destroy and some are destroyed. Therefore the sage avoids excess, extravagance, and arrogance. Chapter 30. One who assists the ruler of men by means of the way does not intimidate the empire by a show of arms, This is something which is liable to rebound. Where troops have encamped, there will brambles grow. In the wake of a mighty army, bad harvests follow without fail. One who is good aims only at bringing his campaign to a conclusion and dare not thereby intimidate. Bring it to a conclusion, but do not boast. Bring it to a conclusion, but do not brag. Bring it to a conclusion, but do not be arrogant. Bring it to a conclusion, but only when there is no choice. Bring it to a conclusion, but do not intimidate. A creature in its prime doing harm to the old is known as going against the way. That which goes against the way will come to an early end. Chapter 31. It is because arms are instruments of ill omen, and there are things that detest them, that one who has the way does not abide by their use. The gentleman gives precedence to the left when at home, but to the right when he goes to war. Arms are instruments of ill omen, not the instruments of the gentleman. When one is compelled to use them, it is best to do so without relish. There is no glory in victory, and to glorify it despite this is to exult in the killing of men. One who exults in the killing of men will never have his way in the empire. On occasions of rejoicing, precedence is given to the left. On occasions of mourning, precedence is given to the right. The lieutenant's place is on the left. The general's place is on the right. This means that it is mourning rites that are observed. When great numbers of people are killed, one should weep over them with sorrow. When victorious in war, one should observe the rites of mourning. Chapter 32. The way is forever nameless. Though the uncarved block is small, no one in the world dare claim its allegiance. Should lords and princes be able to hold fast to it, the myriad creatures will submit of their own accord. Heaven and earth will unite, and sweet dew will fall, and the people will be equitable, though no one so decrees. Only when it is cut are there names. As soon as there are names, one ought to know that it is time to stop. Knowing when to stop, one can be free from danger. The way is to the world as the river and the sea are to rivulets and streams. Chapter 33. He who knows others is clever. He who knows himself has discernment. He who overcomes others has force. He who overcomes himself is strong. He who knows contentment is rich. He who perseveres is a man of purpose. He who does not lose his station will endure. He who lives out his days has had a long life. Chapter 34. The way is broad, reaching left as well as right. The myriad creatures depend on it for life, yet it claims no authority. It accomplishes its task, yet lays claim to no merit. It clothes and feeds the myriad creatures, yet lays no claim to being their master. Forever free of desire, it can be called small. Yet, as it lays no claim to being master when the myriad creatures turn to it, it can be called great. It is because it never attempts itself to be great that it succeeds in becoming great. Chapter 35. Have in your hold the great image, and the empire will come to you. Coming to you and meeting with no harm, it will be safe and sound. Music and food will induce the wayfarer to stop. The way in its passage through the mouth is without flavor. It cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, yet it cannot be exhausted by use. Chapter 36. If you would have a thing shrink, you must first stretch it. If you would have a thing weakened, you must first strengthen it. If you would have a thing laid aside, you must first set it up. If you would take from a thing, you must first give to it. This is called subtle discernment. The submissive and weak will overcome the hard and strong. The fish must not be allowed to leave the deep. The instruments of power in a state must not be revealed to anyone. Chapter 37. The way never acts, yet nothing is left undone. Should lords and princes be able to hold fast to it, the myriad creatures will be transformed of their own accord. After they are transformed, should desire raise its head, I shall press it down with the weight of the nameless uncarved block. The nameless uncarved block is but freedom from desire, and if I cease to desire and remain still, the empire will be at peace of its own accord.